Welcome back to Fright Note, where real people share terrifying letters about things they can't explain, so you can decide what is real and what should have stayed buried. Tonight's letter comes from a well-known American travel vlogger who flew to the Philippines chasing haunted history. But what they found at the Diplomat Hotel wasn't just a local legend. They went there for content. They left with something they've never been able to explain and never shared until now. If you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because what you're about to hear might make you think twice before filming in places that were never meant to be disturbed. Now, let's read the letter. To Fright Note. I've told my audience that I never fake reactions. I don't stage content, and I definitely don't lie for views. That's why I've never posted the footage from that day in Baguio. I deleted most of it, what I saw. What I heard in that building, I'm still trying to believe it was real. It was September of last year. I was in the Philippines filming a travel documentary series on the country's dark tourism scene. Haunted spots, war ruins, forgotten towns. Everyone online pointed me to one place, the Diplomat Hotel. Perched on top of Dominican Hill in Baguio, the place has been abandoned since the 80s, used as a monastery, then a hospital, then a spiritual retreat, then nothing. Locals whispered about headless nuns, echoing screams, doors that wouldn't open from the inside. I thought it would make the perfect final episode. The climb up the hill was steep. Fog rolled in early, soft and white, curling around the pine trees like smoke. The air was damp, almost too still. Even in daylight, the place looked haunted. Faded walls, arched windows with no glass. The stone facade blackened by years of moss and ash. The giant cross on the roof leaned slightly, like it had given up on protecting the place long ago. I arrived around 3:45 p.m. My fixer stayed in the van. I walked in alone with my handheld and GoPro. The first floor was harmless, if creepy. Just dust, graffiti, and echoes. But the atmosphere shifted when I walked up the main staircase. The temperature dropped. I checked my phone. No signal. Typical. The top of the stairs opened into a long hallway. I remember pointing my camera toward a dark open doorway and saying, "Let's see if the ghosts are home." What I heard played back on the footage still gives me chills. I didn't hear it in real time, only in the recording. As I say home, another voice, low and right behind me, replies, "They are." I paused the footage when I reviewed it days later. I rewound it at least 10 times. It's not me. It's not an echo. It's not anyone else. I was alone. I kept filming. The hallway had rows of what looked like former guest rooms. Bare walls. Dusty floors. Some had crumbled ceilings and black scorch marks, like fire had eaten its way out from inside. One of the rooms still had an old metal bed frame, rusted and curled like it had been dragged across the floor. I walked in to get a closer shot and heard something metallic drop behind me. I spun around. The hallway was empty, but the bed frame was moving. Not violently, just dot sliding, a few inches, like someone had just gotten up from it. My chest tightened. I told myself it was a rat. Gravity, wind, even though there was no breeze. Even though the bed's wheels had been rusted stuck. I kept filming. Content, right? That's what I do. That's my job. Then I walked toward what I thought was the chapel room, one of the most talked about haunted spots in the building. I stepped in and immediately felt like I had walked underwater. My legs got heavy. My breath slowed. And in the center of the room, there was something standing near the altar. A shape. Human. Still, not a shadow, not a trick of the light. I saw a woman in a nun's habit. Head bowed, no face. Just shadow where her face should be. She didn't move. But my camera, my brand new GoPro, shut off. Completely dead. I didn't wait. I backed out of the room, fast. I turned back to the hallway, and everything was darker. The light from the windows was gone. I don't mean it was nighttime. I mean it looked like someone had painted the windows black. The building swallowed light. And that's when I realized ... I didn't know which way I came from. The hallway looked different. Angled, longer, like it was rearranging itself. I called out. No answer. Tried to text my fixer. No bars. Every door I opened led to another hallway. Every hallway ended in another door. It felt like I had walked into something that wanted me lost. I'm not a religious person, but when I saw that same chapel doorway again, from the other end, I whispered, please, don't let her be there. But she was, still facing the altar. Only now, her head was tilted slightly, toward me. I tried to talk myself down. It's an abandoned building. You're tired. Jet-lagged, that's all this is. But deep inside, I knew it wasn't. I turned away from the chapel and forced myself to keep moving. But every step felt wrong. It's hard to explain, like my legs were wading through something thick, almost like walking through invisible webs. Each time I brushed against the air, I felt strands pulling back at my skin, and the silence wasn't silent anymore. I started hearing chanting, low voices, humming in some language I didn't recognize. They seemed to come from the walls themselves. Sometimes male voices, sometimes female, but always in perfect rhythm, rising and falling like monks reciting prayers. Then I turned a corner and saw something that made me stop cold. There was a door half open ahead of me. Light was spilling out from inside, bright yellow light like a modern office. For a second, I actually felt relief. Maybe someone else was there. Maybe a caretaker or security. But as I got closer, I saw that the light was coming from nowhere. The room was empty. Nothing inside, just dust and peeling paint. Yet the light was blazing so bright, it left afterimages in my vision. Then the chanting got louder. A sudden gust of cold wind hit my face, like I'd opened a freezer door. I turned, and that's when I saw her. The nun, standing in the middle of the hallway, closer than before. I don't think I'll ever forget how she looked in that moment. She was taller than a normal person. Her veil brushed the cracked ceiling. Her habit hung straight down like wet cloth, dripping onto the tiles. But worst of all, she was headless. The habit was pulled tight around the empty space where her face should have been, like a sack tied shut. She lifted one hand and pointed down the hallway. And even though she had no mouth, I heard her whisper in English, "Come back, finish what was started." I backed away. I was shaking so badly, I thought I'd drop my camera. Suddenly, the hallway was filled with the sound of running footsteps, pounding from every direction. I couldn't tell where it was coming from. The walls themselves seemed to be closing in. I tried to run, but no matter which way I turned, every hallway led me right back to that same doorway. And every time I reached it, she was there, closer than before. Once I saw her hand reach out for my arm. I swear I felt cold fingers brush my skin. I finally ducked into a random side room and slammed the door. Inside, it was pitch black. I turned on my phone flashlight and saw I wasn't alone. A row of wooden chairs lined the wall, as if the room used to be some kind of waiting area. On each chair sat a figure in a nun's habit, heads bowed, hands folded. 10 of them, not moving. At first I thought they were mannequins, until one of them slowly lifted her head. There was no face beneath the veil, only an expanse of smooth, gray skin. And I realized that faint chanting was coming from inside the room. I heard a sharp knock on the door behind me. A woman's voice whispered, "Filming is not allowed after dark." The door rattled like someone was trying to push it open. I threw my weight against it, screaming for whoever was outside to stop. But when I finally wrenched it open, the hallway was empty. I stumbled out, gasping. The hotel felt like it was breathing around me. Every corridor seemed longer than it should be. It was like the building itself was stretching, trying to keep me trapped. At that point, my only thought was, get out, get out, get out. I ran back toward the main stairway, and that's when I heard my own voice coming from the shadows. "Don't leave. We're not finished." I don't know how long I stood there frozen, hearing my own voice echoing from somewhere I couldn't see. "Don't leave. We're not finished." My mind kept screaming, "That's not possible. That's not me." But it was exactly my voice. I finally tore myself away and ran back down the corridor. I was shaking so hard, the camera footage turned into a blur of walls and shadows. Somewhere in the chaos, I swear I saw someone crawling along the ceiling, arms and legs bent backward, scuttling above me like a spider. I screamed and kept running. When I reached the top of the main staircase, the light from outside had completely vanished. I could still see the doorway to the outside, but it looked like a black square cut into the wall. No color, no sound from the city below. It was as though the entire hotel was floating in its own pocket of darkness. I pulled out my phone again, desperate for a signal. It flickered to life just long enough for me to see the time. 6:06 p.m. Then the screen froze. Right before it died, I caught a glimpse of my camera roll, and my heart nearly stopped. Mixed in with my travel selfies and footage were a series of new photos I never took. Photos of me standing in the chapel. Photos of me asleep on one of the rusty beds upstairs. Photos of me staring blankly at the camera while a faceless nun stood inches behind my shoulder. I dropped the phone. My hands were slick with sweat, but I managed to grab my camera and hit record one last time. I was determined to document how I got out. But the second I lifted the viewfinder, the battery drained to zero. Brand new batteries. Gone. That's when I started hearing the voices chanting my name. Nathan. Nathan. I spun around and saw a figure standing at the far end of the hallway. It was the nun again. But this time, her habit was soaked in bright red streaks, dripping onto the floor. She slowly raised her arm and pointed toward the stairs behind me. Go, you're not ready. I didn't question it. I ran. My feet slammed the cracked steps 2 at a time, half tripping, half falling. As soon as I hit the first floor, I felt a rush of warm air, like I'd burst through a wall of ice. I sprinted for the entrance and almost knocked my fixer over. He was standing there, pale as chalk, phone in hand. Kuya Nathan, where were you? You've been gone 5 hours. 5 hours. I'd only felt like I was inside for maybe 40 minutes. I turned back toward the building and froze. From the second floor window above the main doorway, I saw her, the nun. Her head slowly emerged into the light. Except this time, she had a face. My face. She stared down at me with my own eyes and tilted her head and smiled. My fixer grabbed my arm and practically dragged me back to the van. He refused to speak the whole drive down the hill. All he said was, "That place is not for foreigners or anyone." I flew home 2 days later. I haven't talked about it on my channel. Sometimes I wonder if I'm cursed for even stepping inside. My sleep has never been the same. And sometimes, in the middle of editing my videos, my audio glitches, just for a second, and I hear chanting again. So that's why I'm writing to you, Fright Note, because I don't know if I'm free of that place, or if part of me never left. Letter submitted anonymously to Fright Note. Imagine flying halfway across the world to chase legends, only to find something waiting for you that knows your name. Was this a vlogger caught in his own fear? Or did Diplomat Hotel really claim a piece of him that day? Tell us what you believe in the comments below. And if you have a terrifying experience that's never seen the light of day, send your letter to us. You might hear it here on Fright Note next. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chilling letter. Until then, stay safe and be careful where you point your camera.